we've got two Phillips screws. I don't know if you'll be able to see it there. There we go. We've got two Phillips screws holding this oil pump on there. All right, we'll take those screws out there, and then you can just lift up on that oil pump there. Keep those screws together. Your gear, your worm gear is down inside there. We can pull it out now or later. Might just save that for later. We've got our bottom engine mount here. Takes a 14 millimeter. You will have to remove these bottom mounts to split that case. If you're not splitting the case, don't worry about removing those. We do have another ground wire here. It's a 12 millimeter. Pull that, that's a case bolt that runs all the way through that crankcase there. We've got our recoil pull starter that sits on here. It's obviously not on there right now. We've got our cup here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that cup. Just a 15 millimeter gear, excuse me, a 14 millimeter gear. Okay, this is a 14 millimeter bolt that we have to pull this cup off of here. And we've got this case here. We'll remove these 10 millimeter bolts. Alright, cover is off there. Not a lot to that cover. Starter will sit here. Evidently somebody has pulled that starter already. It goes into this bushing here is a Bendix, a starter drive gear that goes into this bushing here. So you want to inspect that bushing, make sure it's in good condition. Alright, we're going to go ahead and pull this flywheel here. I've got our bolt that we pulled out of here for the recoil, the cup, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. We do have on this model a spacer here. You can get in behind there with a screwdriver, just kind of pry up. It does have an O-ring in the middle there that seals things up. You want to inspect that, make sure it's good. All right, we've got our puller here. I'm going to run these 8 millimeter bolts into your flywheel. Make sure you don't put them in there too far and damage that stator. You want to make sure they go in probably about half an inch, maybe not quite that far. You do want to make sure they're threaded enough. Because if they're not, they will just pull the threads right out of the area where these bolts are being installed. Then you want to make sure your flywheel is pulling straight up and down. And then go ahead and just impact this in. The vibration and this bolt here pushing on the crank will actually lift it up out of there. So there's your flywheel there. Inspect it. Inspect this gear here around the outside to make sure that's in good condition. We can go ahead and remove our flywheel puller there. That'll be the last time we need that. And then we'll go ahead and remove this stator. We've got a couple Phillips screws to remove this stator plate. Different ways you can do this. We've got different parts of your stator, your charging system here. If you're going to replace the entire thing, all you need to do is pull that Phillips screw and that Phillips screw, push your outlet or push your electrical line out of your case here, and I'll show you how to do that. But that's the easiest way of removing it. If you're just wanting to replace a piece or two of this stator, you can remove just that certain piece if you'd like. Still think that you need to remove this plate just to make sure that you get all the wires secured how you want them before going back together. So the wires kind of run on the back side there. And if you have this plate pulled, it's going to allow you to see where those wires are running and how that's fitting together. So then I just take a larger screwdriver then, Phillips, flat, whatever. You don't want to damage this grommet that's on the side here, but I just kind of take and push that out. If you've got a large screwdriver there, you're not going to poke a hole in this rubber here, but you do want to make sure that you don't damage that at all, because going back together, you want to make sure that that seals properly so you don't get water and debris in there. Once you get that grommet kind of pushed out somewhat, you can take and feed that line through there, and then one at a time you can get the electrical connectors through that little hole there. And then there's your stator there. We'll test it. We'll show you a couple different tests on how to how to test this stator, make sure it's working.